Hello viewers, my name is Wrongways Gamgee, and welcome to the Quick and Dirty Role-Playing channel. This episode is going to be structured a bit differently. It's going to be unscripted, and I'm mainly going to focus on showing some of the books that I have on my bookshelf over there. I'm going to display a handful of books and give just a brief overview on each of the books. Enjoy. The first book that I pulled out from the shelf is Mutants and Masterminds Deluxe Heroes Handbook by Green Running Publishing. As you can see down here, it's the third edition of the game. Mutants and Masterminds is probably my favorite D20 system type RPG. I find it more useful than D&D of any edition because I can use basically like the D20 system that everybody was familiar with back in like the early to let me see, basically from like the early 2000s all the way until I'd say probably the release of D&D 5th edition, because people still stuck with the D20 system, with the release of Pathfinder as like basically blowback from D&D 4th edition. But I could make like whatever kind of characters or creatures I wanted with this, and I would use it for more than just superhero stuff, even though I have run a bunch of superhero games using it. I've also used this for like a Skyrim campaign that I briefly did. And also, I believe on both the Green Running forums and on RPG.net, there are posts that have just hundreds and hundreds of character builds from like all type of media, not just like Marvel and DC. Alright, next up is the Marvel Hero Role-Playing Basic Game. This is, as of now, the most recent Marvel RPG that there is. There's another one that's due to come out pretty soon, called, I believe it's the Marvel Multiverse RPG, published, by Marvel itself, if I recall correctly, using their own proprietary system. This is basically, I believe, the first iteration of, not really the first iteration, but one of the more popular iterations of the Cortex Plus game engine, which is, it now has its own rulebook called Cortex Prime, which I also have. It took a while to grok this because of the way that the rules were presented and all like the finicky like ways that you can like manipulate dice. So in a large sense, it was like a dice manipulation game more than a role-playing game. It serves as a useful foundation for the evolution of the Cortex Prime system. But this is no longer in sale. There was also, I believe, I can't remember the name of like the campaign book that came out, but yeah, Marvel Heroic Role-Playing. This is the Sentinel Comics role-playing game core rulebook. It's based off of the Sentinels of the Multiverse card game. Main reason I got this book was because, man, this is a heavy book. So, main reason I got this book basically was because of the mechanics. The core dice rolling mechanic from this game is where I derived the core dice rolling mechanic for the Quick and Dirty RPG system. However, I stripped it down to the core. I didn't include the bells and whistles of like boosts and boosts and hindrances, which were direct numerical modifiers to the dice rolls. and also another core idea that I got from this game that I've somewhat incorporated into Quick and Dirty is the status tracker, basically from the gyro system, GYRO, which means green, yellow, red, and out of action. I have yet to play it or create a character for it. The character creation process seems really interesting, where you either roll or you pick like your origin, and from there, you know, it shows you like the different kinds of powers that you can get. Another interesting gimmick about this game is that depending on like what your like status condition is, that determines the basically like the combat abilities that you can use. So let me see, how was it? Basically, the more hurt you were, the worse your condition got, or the more critical like the scene was, because scenes also have like their own tracker that could affect like the dice that you rolled for your status, and as well as like the special abilities that you had available to you. Hopefully one day I can dedicate some time to creating characters, you know, for this game, and I'm just like trying it out. I've heard some criticisms that outside of combat that this system or this game is like somewhat lackluster, but you know, we'll see. This is Icon's Superpowered Role-Playing, the Assembled Edition, by Green Running Publishing. This is also developed by the same person that did Mutants and Masterminds, Steve Kenson. This is basically Steve Kenson's attempt at merging a lot of the feel of the Marvel Superheroes role-playing game made by TSR back in the 80s with more narrative mechanics from I believe it was from the Fate Core, which uses aspects. In this game, like if you want basically like a more simplified version of, say, like Mutants and Masterminds or something like that, you can go with this game. Mechanics are pretty solid. I think it gets a little bit finicky regarding like the different damage types. Like if it's lethal damage, basically any type of lethal damage has like the possibility of like killing the character. Like if they make a like a bad like auxiliary roll following like an attack roll. Also, like attacks that quote unquote stun have a chance of just like knocking you out. In my personal opinion, I think it cut out way too much nuance regarding like the superpowers themselves and like the pricing for them. But for just for inspiration, you know, it's a pretty tight book, and you can do a lot worse than Icons for superhero RPGs on the lighter side of things. Alright, and that's about it for now. Stay tuned for the next episode, where I'm going to show another handful of books and give a brief overview of them. Well, my main focus is to keep these episodes at most like 10 minutes or so long, so that I can take advantage of, you know, the audience's generally short attention span. You know, sorry if that offends you, but it is what it is. You know, if you have any comments regarding any of the games that I've shown, please leave a respectful comment at the comment section. Other than that, take care and play to find out what happens.